Hi Alpesh, welcome to Under the Bodhi Tree with Aryaman Huda. This is a show where I bring to everyone the inspirational stories of successful people like you in India and around the world, and also a platform where I analyze businesses. Right.
Thank you, Arun.
Yeah. So, Alpesh, you are the managing director of BCG Boston Consulting Group India, and you have a vast experience in telecommunication, then technology, finance, banking, and you are a member of FICCI Insurance Committee as well. So, Alpesh, how many years has it been for you consulting, like 25 to 30?
More than 25, so 27 now.
Right. So, what makes consulting so addictive? Is it the money, the challenges, or is there some other driving factor?
I hope I could have answered it as simply as that, saying it's just one thing or the other. But let me go the other way. So I have been asked this question very often, saying, "Why are you still doing this?"
Yeah.
Right? And I guess the simple answer is there is no simple answer, but I have now figured it out. So I asked myself the question,
Right.
and I guess let me give you a story. So I used to ask this interview question of a lot of people to say, what would you want your epitaph to say? It took one smart person to turn around and say, this is my answer, but Alpesh, what's yours? And I had never thought about it till then. And then as I reflected on it, I guess I've now answered it for myself. I want my epitaph to say, he made a difference to me. And I want a lot of people to say it. And in all honesty, there is no better profession than consulting to make that happen, both within BCG as well as with clients. I have the canvas, the opportunity to make a difference to a large number of people. That is what I enjoy doing, and that's what keeps me going. The money is not bad either, but that's certainly not what keeps me going.
I mean, that's extremely inspirational. And on that note, Alpesh, I would like to tell you that our primary audience is young people like me, youths, high school students, and the millenniums and the Gen Zs, as we say.
Right.
And I think that is truly inspirational. And on that note, what were you like in high school, and who's your role model?
I was the same in high school as I am today, which is a complete introvert. I was a nerd. I liked to be doing multiple things. I like to be involved in multiple things. Call it my insecurities. I wanted to do lots of things. And so I was reasonably good in acads. I played every sport I could pick up. I tried my hand at quizzing. I tried my hand at all extracurricular activities. And in all honesty, I actually didn't have a role model, but for my dad. So there was no real role model. There was a hero. I guess many of us make our dads or moms as heroes. And in this case, it was my dad. But in all honesty, no real role model. But somehow I figured that I just wanted to do a lot of things. Even now, the joke in BCG and everywhere is that I can never be doing one thing at any point of time. So I think that's the motto I've lived by, that life is too short and I want to make the most of it. That's what I was in school as well.
Right. And you spoke about, being involved in many sports, and you are an elite runner even now at this age. You run 800 meters and 1500 meters at the national level, and you are like a completely well rounded sportsman in football and cricket. So, how did this or being a sportsman contribute to your corporate success?
I think you mentioned that your audience is sort of the younger folks.
Right.
If I could give one piece of unsolicited advice, play.
Yeah.
Any sport, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I now figure out why it helped me. I don't think that is how I started off. But I think sports is a great teacher on multiple counts. And if I just take two and then I'll tell you how it has helped me. But two things that sports helps you with. One, you learn to be a team player, especially play a team sport. And life is a team sport. So you can't get away from that. And the second thing that sports does is it teaches you how to lose. And it teaches you how to lose graciously. Because you can be Federer, you can be Djokovic, you can be Tendulkar, you can be Kohli, you pick your sport, you can be Messi, you can be Ronaldo, you pick your favorites, you will lose. The only question is, will you lose 1 in 10? Will you lose 3 in 10? Will you lose 5 in 10? Not only do you have to learn to deal with failure, but you also have to come back the next day, literally the next day, with a smile on your face.
Step on the pitch.
And you have to come back and play again, right? There is no alternative. So that is what sports is, I think that's why sports is valued a lot by me. I look at the lessons from a corporate perspective, I think there's too many. So let me name a few. Life is a marathon.
Right.
So is the corporate world. You start working when you're 22, 25, depending on where you start. You will work for 40 years. Most of us. That's a marathon. I don't think people should be in a hurry. The second one, it takes a lot of hard work. So to give you an example, right? I follow too many sports. So Usain Bolt, won, if I'm not mistaken, 8 Olympic golds, and some 14, or was it 11, World Championship medals. Across those 19 medals, he was on the track for only 300 seconds.
And behind the track.
For those 300 seconds, so imagine, he has built his name, brand, life on 300 seconds. But for each of those 300 seconds, he worked out, and I had done the rough back of the envelope, something like 400,000 seconds.
Wow.
Because for 20 years, he was working out, training 6, 8, 10 hours a day. So that's what it is. It's a lot of, it's a lot of hard work. I don't think people can ever shy away from that. And the last thing I would say it has taught me is, and which I think is very useful for all of us in life, obviously in the corporate world, that we should run our own race. Right? Don't look left, don't look right, just because the person on your right wants to be, I don't know, a corporate person, just because the person on your left wants to join a private equity fund, or whatever he or she wants to do. You should do what you want to do, and you should do what you're good at. And the best example I have of that is, like I said, I follow too many sports. So, two quick examples: 1972 800 meters Munich Olympics. The winner was a guy called Dave Wharton. 2012 London Olympics 800 meters, my favorite event, David Rudisha. If you watch those two races, for 620 meters out of the 800, Dave Wharton was last.
Wow.
He was last. He made his move with 180 meters to go, and he won the race.
Wow.
On the other hand, David Rudisha won the 2012 800 meter Olympics. He led from start to end. There was not a single second, not a single meter that he was not in front. He wanted to win the race that way. He thought that's what suited him. And so, different strokes, but the same outcome.
Right.
And so you have to decide what you want to do. I would say just run your own race in life.
Right. Yeah. And speaking of difficulties, Alpesh, can you tell us some of the hard calls or the difficult calls you had to take in BCG? Some important decisions which...
All decisions are important. Too many actually. And luckily, I enjoyed it, so I would not say I've had too many hard calls. But I'll tell you one period. For whatever, 2020 March onwards, COVID really hit. And at that point of time, I would say anybody who was in any leadership position was really stretched and stressed. And there were a lot of trade-offs. So for example, should I shut the office down or shouldn't I? For how long? Once we shut it down, the question is, when should we restart? Right? Do you risk people? Do you not risk people? And the most difficult was, especially in India, for example, in the second wave of COVID, it was madness. Right? We were not getting any medications, hospital rooms.
You couldn't even walk out of your house.
And so we had the privilege, we had the money, we had the connections, but there was a trade-off to say the moral dilemma: should I be stocking remdesivir? We're actually blocked out 2 ambulances. Is that fair, or isn't that? And so the only way I was able to deal with my conscience was, I would say, with the ambulances, they were kept on standby to say you can go anywhere. But if I need you and I call, the next use case is mine, because we were paying for the entire thing. The same way, and I guess, remdesivir, it was being sold in black, and the question was, if you stock, can it be considered hoarding? How much do you stock? Do you stock equivalent of 1 person's dose, 2, 5, 10, 20? What do you do? And the only way, I guess, I dealt with it, if I'm being honest, was I said, well, this is my family, and I have to defend and I have to protect them. But like I said, the token on the other side is, besides the 3,000 people who were with BCG. There were 1.5 billion outside.
Right.
And I was not thinking about them. And so it gets very tricky. So I would say that for me would have been the hardest set of decisions I was ever taking. It was also the most humbling experience because, in spite of all that we did, we lost people. We had friends and family of many of our sort of employees lose their lives. And it was humbling because it said you can be as smart as you think you are. You can be as well connected as you think you are. You can be as rich as you think you are. Life does not have much respect for that. So I guess if you ask me, those I would say would have been the most difficult set of decisions I've taken.
That's absolutely phenomenal, Alpesh, how you actually described an accurate scenario which I think everyone can connect with. Right. So now, Alpesh, you have been consulting many businesses in finance and technology, right? And India has a lot of low-hanging fruits in SMEs, and there's a lot of readily available youth in tier 3 and 4 towns. So, and they are growing much faster. So, I will like you to crystal gaze here. That's what a consultant does, according to me. So, it tells us the path forward. So, the question is, Alpesh, which financial model will make credit available to these tier 3 and 4 towns? Is it non-banks, NBFCs, banks, or fintech?
So this is the beauty of India. And let me start with why I think people like you are in the luckiest place possible. I always thought I was lucky. But the next 10, 20, 30 years are just meant for India. And the reason I say that is, think about it. India is a $3.5 trillion economy today. In the next 10 years, we will add another India. We will add another $3.5 trillion in less than 10 years. We will add another India. What does that mean? There is another Tata waiting to be created. There's another Birla, Adani, Ambani, you name it. Another ICICI bank, another HDFC bank, another SBI bank. All of them are just waiting to be created because we will need 2x of that. Now, obviously, as you said, within that, right, tier 2, 3, 4 are gaining in importance as they should. They're actually becoming more and more relevant. And with technology, the access to them, or for them and to them, becomes a lot easier. In fact, I don't even need the crystal ball. I think banks, NBFCs, fintechs, all will have a large role to play. Right? That being said, if you look at it, right, fintechs, by design, are actually going to be the ones who will innovate. They will force the innovation. And the reason for that is all incumbents become victims of incumbency. So whether you are SBI in the past, whether you're ICICI, HDFC today, or whether you're the next ICICI and HDFC tomorrow, you all become victims of your own success. When you're not as successful, you have nothing to lose. You're willing to experiment a lot more. As soon as you become big, you cannot experiment as much. So you need the fintechs to drive the innovation. You need the fintechs to create the innovation. You need the fintechs to hold up the mirror and say, guys, do something different. But the advantage that the incumbents have, the banks and the NBFCs, the large NBFCs have, is that they have the capital, they have the brand, they have the access to customers. So I think, in all honesty, this is going to be a marriage of the fintechs and their models with the banks and the NBFCs. They will have to adopt what the fintechs create. And I think that, from a country point of view, is the best thing possible. So, maybe a consultant chickening out of an answer, but I think all three will be very important for the country.
Right. And could you also tell us about some regulations as well, which could be done to promote credit again to these towns?
So I think, see, if you first look at it, right, one of the biggest successes in India in the recent past has been the whole success of UPI.
Yeah.
Right? I don't think anybody ever imagined that payments would be as seamless as they are today. And UPI did not exist till 2017. It really started in 17, 18.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever imagined it. So I think the biggest driver, and I think where that happened was it started with Aadhaar, and then we had the India stack, and then everything has got built on that. So I think just adding elements to the India stack, and I don't think there's any specific regulation, but there will be. India struggled for a long time with this wet signatures versus e-signatures. the whole common KYC and so on. More than the regulation, I would say any regulation that enables seamless customer journeys, I think is the most efficient answer. Because why do we like it today? I go for a run. I went for a run this morning. I get out at race course. I feel like having a coconut water. I don't have cash. What do? I pull out my phone. There is a cycle wala standing there with the coconut water.
Scan
I scan the QR code and I pay. Just imagine 8 years back, 7 years back, that would not have happened.
That's true.
Which means he would have lost out on income. I would not have got what I wanted. Why is that possible now? Because QR codes, what technology enabled us to do, and supplemented with riding on top the UPI expressway, just makes it very easy. So I think any regulation that makes seamless customer journeys easier is the best way to go. So if I take credit as a specific example, I think the same question, right? Why should credit take hours and days, right? So I had a client who once told me this. He said, Alpesh, I have these journeys with customers. Whatever takes months, can we do it in weeks? So if it is 2 months, can we do it in 2 weeks? If it takes 2 weeks, why can't I do it in 2 days? If it takes 2 days, why can't I do it in 2 hours? If it takes 2 hours, why can't I do it in 2 minutes? That's the power of just dreaming, and I think any regulation that enables that is most important. I think we are getting there. We are on the journey to that.
Absolutely.
And all of these things, from the account aggregators to is really driving a lot of this change, because it's actually democratizing data. It's saying you can actually share data across. It is not the ability of only a few select banks who have access to this data. And now the fintechs can get access to it, and they can actually ride the wave of innovation. So those kind of regulations, I would say, will certainly help.
That's right. And Alpesh, I as a young person am very concerned about environmental deterioration and the impact on our lives. And I'm really happy that BCG, along with its top 20 clients, has cut down 1 gigaton of carbon emissions. I mean, that's equivalent to the emissions in United Kingdom and Germany. Has there been any work done on that in India as well?
Absolutely. So I think, to your point, as a human race, we have actually neglected the planet for a long time. I often wonder whether we've left it too late.
Yeah.
But humans being humans, we are all, and in India you have this one word jugaad, which we'll figure out.
Right.
But I think we are also survivors.
Right.
So as a human race, I think we will find a solution to this. I think as BCG, we are well aware of our responsibilities. I think we've made a beginning, if I'm being honest. We've done a few things. So if I take the specific case of India, to your point, we are working, I would say, with 3 kinds of clients, corporates, situation. Right? So first, we are the global partners for COP26, COP27, COP28. We are the strategic consulting partners for that. We're also partnering with the government on the G20. So that's one side of it, which is partnering with the decision makers, with the regulators, if you call it that, or the bodies to make a difference. On the corporate side, I think there are both. We're working with people who actually have large carbon emissions. So whether it's the energy businesses, BPCL, IOCL, Adani, etc., which is the pure energy businesses.
Right.
The second is businesses with very high carbon footprint, but cement, chemicals, because they also have large possibilities for abatement. And so we're working with these companies to see how we can actually reduce the carbon emissions for them. What we've found as we've looked at this work is that there is at least, if you started conceptually and said, how do you take your carbon emissions to zero? It will never happen, but how do you minimize it? And if I divide them into certain categories, so category A, we found, is about, typically, depending on the business, anywhere between 30 and 50% of their emissions can be reduced in a very cost-effective manner, where they actually see a business case themselves. It is just that people don't realize it. So, for example, if I look at telecom, and you look at all the tower business, the tower sites that they have, they're actually all running on diesel gensets for backup, which is actually very bad for carbon emissions. And so actually moving them to batteries is a lot easier. Now, obviously, you can argue saying, is it cheaper, is it more expensive? When we've done the break even, it's actually less than 3 or 4 years. So they can actually take a lot of that carbon emissions out, right, in a very cost-effective manner. So that's what we're working with companies on. There's a bucket 2 where you can't do it in a 2, 3, 5 year horizon. because the cost of some of the technologies today, it will be a 5, 7, 9 year payback, which then needs support from the government to actually make that happen. For example, what they've done everywhere with electric vehicles. So I'd say that's the second category.
Right.
And the last one we're actually going hammer and tongs after. So we are the lucky enough to be associated with many people who are looking at batteries, lithium-ion batteries. How do we move on that front with electrical vehicle manufacturers, two-wheelers, four-wheelers?
Because it's hard to mine those
Yeah.
lithium batteries.
So we are actually working with a few on the mining side, but more importantly on the manufacturing side.
Right.
So for example, Ola, which is actually creating a very large, maybe the largest two-wheeler electric vehicle factory in the country, and certainly maybe in the world, is somebody that we are actually working with. So on all three fronts.
Right. Thank you, Alpesh. That was really helpful. Now we will go to a very interesting round. It's more of a personal question of this or that.
Okay.
So, smoothie or coffee?
Smoothie.
Spend a weekend on the beach or in the mountains?
In the mountains.
Lose your taste or lose your appetite?
Lose my appetite.
One wish granted today or 3 in 10 years?
3 in 10 years. I have enough today.
Win an Olympic medal or a Grammy?
Olympic medal.
Greta Thunberg or Sundar Pichai?
Sundar Pichai.
Okay, this is interesting. Which company would you like to be a CEO of other than BCG? Is it McKinsey? I'm joking.
I think I'm overqualified for that.
So
you want to? I thought you were going to do this or that. Okay, I have to think now.
Yeah.
Which company? I would love to, with my passion for sport right now, I would say it's a very political thing, but I would love to be either the CEO of BCCI
Right.
or for the IOC,
Right.
the International Olympic Committee.
Right. That's great. Thank you, Alpesh, for joining us. It was a pleasure meeting you and interviewing you. You are an absolute inspiration for today's generation, and it was a really insightful interview. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arun. Thank you very much.